What's good, everybody? Mr. Peters here again. Today we're talking about how to solve and graph compound inequalities, and I'm going to show you guys also how to do the interval notation for compound inequality graphs. So, guys, when we're talking about these type of compound inequalities, the whole goal is to try to get x by itself in the middle, right? And to do that in this problem, what we want to do is to try and move 3. And the first step is to subtract 3 from itself, right? But a key tip or a key error that I see a lot of students make is that they're only subtracting from one side of the inequality. And this is what I mean. Students will go in and subtract 3 -3 from 1, or subtract 3 from -1, I'm sorry. But they won't go and then make sure that they do the same step on the other side of the inequality to 5. So please make sure you guys incorporate all steps to both sides of the inequality and not just one side. So after that first step, we have a new inequality, and our inequality is going to look like this. So understand, guys, we're almost there. We have not finished yet. So what we want to do at this part now is to divide, right? And we're going to divide by -2 so that we could get that variable by itself. But there's a very specific rule that we must remember when we're dividing by a negative number, right? And that is flip the inequality sign. So when we look at these inequality symbols, guys, understand that they are going to flip. And once they flip, our final answer, or inequality, I should say, is going to look something like this. And oops, I see I almost forgot to flip it already. So that's why I say, guys, please make sure you flip. It's very easy to make an error. So at this step now, right, the inequality looks like it's backwards, right? Shouldn't the negative should come first? So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of rearrange this around so that we have the same answer. All right. So I rewrote it, and what I want you guys to really focus on, and this is my trick that I tell students so that they won't get too frustrated and overthink it. Whatever that inequality symbol is open to, guys, just make sure that it's open to that same term, number, variable again, okay? And this is what I mean. So if you look, right, it says that x is greater than -1, right? So when we look at this first inequality here, that says the same thing. -1 is less than x, right? Then when we go on to the other side, we notice that it says 2 is greater than x. So when we say it in terms of x, that just means that, hey, x is less than 2. So you could either say it to yourself verbally, or you can use that little trick that Mr. Peters said and say, hey, if whatever way or whatever term it's open to, just make sure that when you rewrite it, it's open to the same term, okay? That's a little trick that I like to use, and you're gonna get it right about 100% of the time. All right, so now we've solved it. Let's see if we could get a graph for this. So when I go to get a graph, right, we draw a nice straight line, and we're gonna number it. So let's just do -2 to +3. So first things first, guys. We look at the inequality symbols and we notice that there is no or equal to sign, right? It's just greater than or less than. So that means that on our graph, we're going to have a open circle. So I'm going to go to -1, and let's switch colors, I'm sorry. Let's go to -1, and we're also going to go to +2. And guys, just a quick rule, quick thumb of thought. When it's an and inequality like this, right, the graph will always run towards each other. So you don't have to necessarily think, oh, okay, which way do I need to shade? No, in these type of inequalities, they will always go towards each other. Only if you see the word or will you have two separate inequalities that are going in the opposite direction, okay? All right. So now we're going to talk about interval notation. And interval notation is a part of inequalities, right? It's another way to express the inequality, express the graph. And basically what happens is if we have a open circle on the graph, we're going to use a parentheses around the number, okay? And if we have a closed circle, that means we're going to use a bracket around that number. And when it comes to the negative infinity sign and the positive infinity sign, right? Let's say the graphs are just going in opposite directions, right? It's going to keep on going to the infinity on the positive side, and it's going to keep on going to the negative infinity on the negative side. So just understand what infinity means. When we include infinity in interval notation, infinity will always have a parentheses around it, never a bracket, all right? Because you can't include infinity in the answer, in the solution set. So when I look here, guys, understand that both of these circles on the graph are open. So for interval notation, we're going to use a parentheses for both of them. And then all we're going to do is write the numbers in our graph. So this graph starts at -1, which is not included. We put a comma, and then this graph is going to go all the way up to +2, which is also not included. So this would be the interval notation for this graph, and this is how you will solve and graph this compound inequality. And if you found this video helpful, we're gonna ask that you guys smash the like button on your way out and just leave comments down below letting us know that you found this video helpful. Thank you guys for joining me today. I am Mr. Peters. Thank you guys for watching Algebra 1 with Mr. Peters.